This is Nemtheanga from Primordial from the Republic of Ireland. You are listening to Metal Wani.
Hey Alan, how are you doing?
Not too bad.
So, new album, Where Greater Men Have Fallen, has definitely created waves in heavy metal world. How satisfied are you right now?
Yeah, I mean it's a feeling I've been in the same place several times before,
Mhm.
but it's good, it's positive, to get this strong a reaction 8 albums in to the band's career. That's not usual for most bands, I think.
Absolutely. And while this album, it kind of makes me feel that your entire discography is perfect. And this new album is another monumental album in your catalog. It's got everything, the talent, the technical, and also the music which touches the soul of a listener. A perfect example.
Yeah, well, I mean, if this is if this is what you think, I mean, I think for the most part, heavy metal is a young man's game.
True.
Most heavy metal bands make their best music in the beginning of their career, but I'm quite happy to feel that we have made our strongest albums in the last couple of years.
Hmm.
It's slightly different, unusual for a heavy metal band, I think.
All right. So while listening to the album, as a fan, I felt that there's a sense of fulfillment, when I reached the end of the album, which clearly indicates that it's a well-made album, with all the thoughts and all the entire procedure being executed successfully.
But it's the same thing. Making an album for us has been the same thing for 24 years. There's no magic formula or secret, how we say, some sort of secret way that we do things. I mean, we don't trade files, we don't write over the internet.
Hmm.
No one arrives with a complete idea and tells everybody else what to do. We meet when we have something to do.
Hmm.
We meet in the roster room. We argue it out. We put our case. We all contribute, even if the main idea or riff might come from one person.
Right.
We structure it all together, but we just do it the old-fashioned heavy metal way of standing around in a rehearsal room shouting at each other. Like I said, there's no deep dark secret to Primordial. Only the fact that when we have nothing to do, we don't do anything. We live quite far away. We don't socialize with each other. We don't see each other generally outside of when we're doing something.
Hmm.
So we don't meet once a week to sit around and play Black Sabbath riffs and smoke weed and drink beer. And it's not the way Primordial does things. So we have a kind of more, how do we say?
It's a standard approach
Yeah, like
of writing.
I don't know if it's standard. I don't really know exactly what other bands do. A lot of bands I speak to seem to, different members write on their own and send the music to the other guys to learn, and it all seems a bit,
True.
distant. But no, we still, you need human interaction to make heavy metal. It doesn't work any other way, I don't think.
Wow, that's interesting. And your vocals on this album have that melancholy, that Irish atmosphere, melodies, everything goes smoothly. And then the kind of top-notch poetry, or let's say lyrics you write, makes it even better.
Mm.
And what sort of approach do you as a vocalist, you come up with such concepts or such lyrical approach?
Um, I think that the vocals are one thing. I mean, the vocals really, as you grow and evolve as a person,
Hmm.
you try and add a few more weapons to your arsenal as a singer.
Right.
And so things that maybe I definitely wouldn't have been able to do 10 years ago, are no problem now. I'm definitely more accomplished as a singer. I understand more about music and composition. More confidence also in your ability to achieve these things. I think that that's very important. To follow your gut instinct generally and not second guess yourself. Maybe that's also something that comes with age. Also, greater understanding of the dynamics of songwriting, which come from maybe from at least for me, understanding more about great bands from the 70s and stuff as well. As a lyric writer, you know, I'm lucky English. You know, the composition of lyrics or of words has always been something that's fallen relatively easy for me. I've always been quite lyrical, or at least been interested in language to a degree to be able to make sense of things, you know. But usually with an album, you'd set off on a couple of different tangents, 2 or 3, and you know you don't have any strict formula, and they converge on something in the middle.
Right.
And this album was no different, except that I didn't really have a theme, like I have done maybe on the previous 2. I sort of left it a bit more open.
And there's a track called Babel's Tower, which is more like a black and doom metal track. And when you sing on that, it's quite amazing to see how your adaptation of the vocals to a doom style is actually praiseworthy.
Well, to be honest, Primordial has always had a doom style. I mean, you listen back to a song like Journey's End, and it's more or less doom metal. I don't really think it's that unusual, to be honest with you.
You know, your approach on vocals mainly I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like some people find they've remarked that the timing and the phrasing can be a bit strange. I don't know, obviously, I don't see it like that. To me, the technical details, even though I understand them more and more now, are less important than the conviction or meaning that they're expressed with.
Right.
So obviously, for me, it's the fact that you sound like you mean it. It's more important than the technical details. I don't have much patience, and I don't really like the studio. I find it fucking boring. So I tend to work in the dead of night, when everybody else is either asleep or doing something else.
So you're most
like
active at night.
Yeah, always. Short bursts of energy, 2 hours. You focus on what you're doing. You can do. I mean, if you're really focused, you can do. You can rattle out a whole fucking song in 20 minutes.
Awesome.
I hate fucking around in the studio. I hate going back over and over and over things. It just tires me. So I rather wait for that moment where you are like really, really focused about what you're doing, and then you just trust in your instinct. So that is kind of how I prefer to do things, you know.
That's awesome.
I'm not one of these people. I'm not one of these people that will spend. I will never do something 10 times. You can forget about it unless it's really something really difficult. Something that's just avoiding me. I'd rather quit after 5 or 6 and come back to it than do it 10 times. I'm just super impatient.
That's
and
interesting.
impetuous. You know.
Primordial is actually known for writing those epic pre-war galvanizing tales, and we have one on the album in the form of Born Tonight. You know, how easy does it get for you to write songs like Born Tonight?
Well, look, I mean, look, the first thing about Born Tonight is that it's very reminiscent of Thin Lizzy, Black Rose. In fact, it came from the same Irish traditional piece of music. It wasn't intentional; it just happened that way. But you know, personally, the Irish traditional thing doesn't do much for me. I've never been really into that. But if it's used tastefully, I think that it can be okay. You know. Personally, Personally, there's nothing, you know, the kind of very obvious folky kind of melodies, like I said, do absolutely nothing for me. I never wanted any of those kind of things in Primordial. But we generally represent the dark underbelly of that kind of feeling. Born Tonight is, I suppose, yes, has the feeling of classic Primordial, really, you know.
That's really cool. And what are the plans of taking this album live? Because your fans are really expecting you to, you know, go on stage and unleash these tracks. So any plans, any, you know, tours coming up?
To be honest, not really. I mean, we have quite a few festivals. We're kind of doing like we're calling them like blitzkrieg weekends or something, where you pick a territory and you play 2 to 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and people know that is going to be the weekend in that territory. And if they're going to see you, they have to travel to see you. I think that the old model of touring is coming under threat. Festival culture, it's true, is killing touring, and it's just become an economically unviable way of playing this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday thing. So for the moment, say if we pick, let me think. Maybe we play. You might pick a weekend and play like 2 shows in Austria and 1 in Switzerland, and we're not going to be in some small regional town in Switzerland on a Monday. It's just probably not going to happen. So it's going to be Saturday night. It's going to be an occasion. It's going to be good supports and a long state, you know, show. So that's, I think, the kind of model that we're going to follow in the future.
Okay.
But I don't know. Who knows? If a good tour comes along, then also why not?
No, that's true. But generally the turnout on the weekdays are less.
Yeah, of course. They're much less. So it just makes sense, you know?
Absolutely. So any plans you guys have about coming to India, or any idea how many followers you have in India?
I have no idea. I've been contacted once or twice on email about possibly playing over there. I mean, the thing about it is that, personally speaking, I feel that we really need to add a few new territories every year, a few new experiences and new shows before. I mean, it's obvious that at 8 albums in, more than half of the career of the band is probably done.
True.
We're probably, you know, I don't know how many albums we'll make, but there are places we really should get to before we quit. So yeah, I mean, if there is somebody who's interested, they should contact us, because we're pretty fascinated to try and go anywhere, you know.
Absolutely, that's really good to hear. So before I conclude the interview, how about you define where greater men have fallen in just one sentence?
Just one sentence?
Yep.
I don't know. Say what you mean what you say. You know, if you hated the band before, you're probably still going to hate us, and we could care less. And if you were into it, I don't think we're going to disappoint you. I don't know. You know, in a world that tries to detach you from your history or your cultural inheritance and tries to make everyone compromise, we try and do our best to stand opposed to all of that.
Absolutely, Alan. Very well said. Thank you once again for doing the interview. You have a long list of interviews coming up ahead, so it really was an honor.
No worries, man.